Hi, I'm Tina Arnold.
And I'm Johnnie Arnold.
And this is Suspect Paranormal.
Halloween special version.
We should have dressed up.
Episode 5, 4, 5.
3, 2, 1. We should have dressed up.
Well.
You don't ever dress up for Halloween, though.
I have to work every Halloween.
You didn't work last Halloween.
Yeah, but I don't want to dress up.
There's the truth. It was easy to say, I work every Halloween.
It's because, well, I do work a lot of Halloweens, but I didn't want to dress up because you wouldn't let me dress up.
Because you wanted the $600 Vader suit.
Yeah. So I said, no, I'm not dressing up now.
So it was a protest.
Yeah.
Understood.
And the next Halloween that I have, well, I do have to work this Halloween, but next Halloween, even if I still can't get that, then I won't be dressing up either.
So you'll still be on protest?
Yes. Until I get that suit.
Until you get that suit.
And a real lightsaber.
Okay. A real lightsaber?
Yeah.
So you're never dressing up and going with us. Gotcha. Okay, just lead with that.
I'll take a
Walmart one?
No. Nope. A replica of Vader's lightsaber.
So I knew we were going to be doing ghosts. So there was a story that I remembered hearing as a kid that I wanted to share instead of my normal true crime.
Well, yeah, this episode's got to be all about paranormal.
Yeah. So
it's Halloween.
I have I have prepared a paranormal story.
Okay. Well, for my segment, it's just all about our experiences in this house, and we were supposed to do a ghost hunt, but
we fell asleep.
Yeah.
We had a long day yesterday.
Yeah.
So we ended up going out yesterday for our anniversary, and we went to a place called Dewey Rose, Georgia. And I think, let me look it up so I'm not giving misinformation. I believe that their population is 139 people. I have more people in my family.
Well, I'm going to tell you, that's another one of those little towns that I fell in love with, and I want to move there. And the housing out there is relatively cheap. I don't know if I should tell you all that.
Maybe not. So there are 161 people in the population of Dewey Rose. And like I said, I have more people in my family than the town has in its whole population.
Don't we have more people in this house than that?
It feels like it sometimes. No, if our kids watch this by some miracle of God, I want you here.
I was kidding.
So did you want to tell them about the cemetery that we found?
Oh, this cemetery that we found, that made me mad.
It was very depressing. I mean, cemeteries are depressing anyway, but
especially ones that aren't being taken care of. And I'm not trying to diss anybody that lives out in
no.
Shit, I forgot what the name was.
Dewey Rose.
In Dewey Rose, Georgia.
They have such a small population, it would be completely just irrational to think that they could properly maintain this cemetery. I'm sure those people have to work. I'm sure they have to take care of their families, but the church needs to hire somebody to come in and do it.
Okay, so what we saw was this little church out in the middle of Dewey Rose, Georgia, and Dewey Rose is really one of those towns where if you just blink it, you're gone, you're out of it. I mean, you're done. It's over with. You're into another town.
Literally.
Yeah. And so I don't know if this church out there was still active. See, the church wasn't taken care of. Like the pavement or the parking lot had grass growing out of it. And it apparently had been like that for a while because it was like dead grass and it was really long. And then you get over to the cemetery part, and we were like, yeah, this is going to be pretty cool because they look like old headstones, and they were old headstones from early 1800s and or mid 1800s.
No, it was early 1800s.
Was it early?
We went as far back as, I think, 1803.
Okay. So, anyways, we got out there. We were looking, exploring the cemetery area, and then we start noticing that these headstones are sinking into the ground.
The ground is really soft.
Oh yeah, it's
really wet and soft.
Spongy. It's spongy soft. So we're walking around, and there are casket covers that have been exposed due to erosion.
They're coming up through the ground.
They're literally being eroded up through the ground, and a lot of the graves around there were sunken in.
Like the land over the grave has caved in.
Yeah.
And it has sucked the tombstone down with it.
Oh yeah. There was one that the tombstone was like literally like a chunk.
I have a picture that you can put up.
Of the side, and it had you could see the placard, but you couldn't read what was on it because it was down inside the ground. And a lot of them were like that. There was one where the headstone had pretty much fallen off, where it looked like the land had eroded back, and the headstone was sticking out, and just a little bit further more, that if that land erodes, it's going to erodes even further. It's going to end up exposing that casket, like the casket itself. Like
it's really bad.
It's bad, and it was, and they're still burying people there.
Yeah, there was a grave there as late as 2022.
2022, yep.
And I was telling Johnnie, I don't understand why or how they're getting away with still burying people there when the condition of the earlier graves are in such disarray, and the land is literally opening up in places and then sucking things down in places. Like, I don't understand how they're getting away with still putting bodies in the graveyard. But look, if you are from Dewey Rose, if that church is still active, I think it's called, I can tell you what it's called.
So another thing is, like, so there's a farm right behind the cemetery, and there's a wood line. And when you go over to the wood line, there's headstones over in the wood line also that have not been taken care of. Oh,
behind the church by the wood, in the woods, there's whole plots that have been eaten up by the woods.
Oh yeah, forgot about that. And there was like a whole plots of graves that were they were in such bad condition that you couldn't even see what was written. Half of them were broke.
So here's my thing. This is called Whitechapel CME Church. I don't know what CME stands for, but Whitechapel Church in Dewey Rose, Georgia. If you are a member of the church, if you are head of the church, if you are somebody that is responsible for that cemetery, I'll come clean it. Give me your permission. Contact us through what?
SuspectParanormal.com.
I will come do it. I will bring supplies out there. I will bring my weed eater. I will bring everything that needs to be out there to fix it. Just get in touch with me.
That was another thing that we saw out there, was like some of those graves. One in particular was just covered in weeds
and some kind of mold.
Yeah, some kind of mold or moss or something. That was depressing. But outside of the cemetery and I guess the church, everything, that whole area is like super beautiful.
Yeah, it was a really peaceful place, a really comforting feeling out there.
Yeah.
So much so that we got on our phones and started looking up places for sale.
Ooh, houses for sale.
To see if it was a potential area for us to move to.
Now, there was one area. It was like a little factory. I don't know what it was, really.
The Eagle Grove School.
No. I'm talking
No?
about where we smelled like that.
Oh,
stuff.
Yes. It smelled like
death. It smelled like death.
It smelled like
It was
pork rinds.
No.
Yes.
No, it didn't smell like pork rinds. That smelled like something dead intensified by like 1,000.
But just hear me out. Since we had COVID, my smell and my taste buds, excuse me, have changed dramatically.
Well, mine didn't.
So, no, but listen. So what I'm telling you is what we smelled coming from that factory is what I smell when we open a bag of pork rinds.
When we open a bag of pork rinds, it smells like a fart. This smells like...
Not to me, though. It smells like death.
Oh, no. Yeah,
it smells horrible.
Oh, yeah. I don't get
And
that.
this smelled like that times 100. Like it was that bad for me anyway.
Well, if you're not
he was choking.
If you're not smell blind... Oh, God, I was about to throw up. It was so bad. If you're not smell blind, then that place is bad. Yeah.
It's only one little bitty area out in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing around it.
But it took a long time for it to get out of that car. Oh, my God.
Because we rolled the windows up when we were right in the middle of it. We trapped it in the car with us. It was so funny. I wish I'd have been videoing. Because he was sitting in the passenger seat choking. Like, he was really, he was on the verge of losing his subway. I have to adjust. I'm sinking into the couch.
You're a headstone.
Oh my gosh. It's just what us fat girls do. We sink into the furniture.
So what kind of story you got?
All right. So
this is something from your childhood?
Yes. And I don't know if you'll remember it or if anybody will remember it, but there was a TV movie in 1991. So I would have been 10 because I wouldn't have been 11 until December of that year. It's called The Haunted. This was the first case that I had ever heard of a family coming out with their story of being haunted. Other than Amityville.
Oh, yeah. I was about to say what about Amityville.
Other than Amityville.
So this is a real, true story?
Yes. And this is going to sound so funny.
Is this a made-for-TV movie?
It is.
Okay.
So this is... It's going to sound really funny to you, but I didn't consider the Amityville...
A comedy?
A real family.
Oh.
I thought it was just a movie. I didn't realize until I was older that it was about a real family.
Oh, yeah.
That it was true. So this was the first time that I experienced a real family telling their story.
Poltergeist, was it wrong?
No. All right. So the family name is Smurl. Smurl. Jack and Janet are the mom and dad. And they have a few kids. I didn't look deep enough to find out their kids and ages. And their story was actually investigated by the Warrens.
Oh. If y'all don't know who the Warrens are, they're the ones that...
Ed and Lorraine.
Is it the Conjuring movies?
Mm-hmm.
So they are the actual investigators from the Conjuring movies, but in real life...
Also Amityville.
And Amityville, yeah. But they are probably the most famous ghost hunters on the entire planet.
For good reasons and bad.
They're the ones that investigated Annabelle and Amityville and a whole bunch of others. Like they have a
whole catalog.
Yeah, they got a whole catalog.
We've just
they have
now
a whole museum. Like it's real. Like that museum is real.
We have just now begun to unwrap their stories into movies. I cannot wait to see what else.
So before Lorraine died, she was on a pretty popular ghost hunting show. I cannot remember what it's called. I have to look it up. But she was on I don't know why I have to look it up. I got resources. I got resources over here. But the guy that was on that show, he got in a lot of trouble and stuff. I can't remember what it was. But he got in trouble for like drugs and alcohol and doing crazy stuff. But she played a big part in that TV show.
Paranormal State?
Yep, that's it. Yep.
Well, we love Ed and Lorraine, and we're big fans of their life and what they dedicated their lives to doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to tell about the Smurl family.
Okay.
They moved into their home in question in 1973. And almost immediately, according to them, things began to happen that they could not explain, like beds shaking, their TV exploded while Jack was watching a football game with his father in the living room. Their dog was picked up and thrown against the wall. Their daughter was pushed down the stairs. And just random foul odors would pop up out of nowhere and stay for days.
So the dog getting thrown against the wall, that reminds me of Mafia, the movie. Jane Austen's Mafia. Where she picks up the dog.
We can't ever have nice things.
Yeah, and when she throws the dog against the wall, it's like ceramic. And he goes, I
don't think this was like
and
that.
he goes, that's why we can't have nice things, Pepper.
Yeah. I don't think that the dog exploded with this one.
We had our bed shake at one of our houses.
Oh, dude. Like, I've also been, okay, so yes, we'll start with that. Or do you want to wait?
We'll wait.
We'll wait.
Yeah.
Because we're going to tell that later. All right, so moving on. In 1986, now they moved in 1973. In 1986, they were finally able to get in touch with Ed and Lorraine and bring them in to do an investigation in their home. Throughout the course of the investigation, many of the people coming in and out, it was like the diocese, the Catholic Church was sending people in and out. Ed and Lorraine brought different people in. There was just like, it sounded like there was just like a constant carousel of people coming in and out of the house. Most of them would try very, very hard to dispel the validity of the family's claims. They couldn't witness the same exact things themselves by staying a day or two with them. So they would bash them and call them crazy and saying that if they hadn't experienced it while they were there, then it must be lies. They were called con artists, and their experiences were made fun of and called hoaxes. Also in 1986, the family worked with, I think that he might have been a journalist, and he wrote a book for them. The Warrens and the Smurl family worked with a man named Robert Curran, I'm not sure, to write a book telling everything that they had experienced and been through. The book received mixed reviews, mostly critical. They were harshly judged, and the Warrens and the author were talked down about for spreading falsities and backing up the family's claims, as they were all very badly discredited, or they tried to discredit them.
Right.
But in 1991, the book was such a hit that they turned it into a TV movie. And that's where I came in to know this story. So again, during the course of their experience in the home, people tried to say that they were delusional, hallucinating. They were accused of having brain impairments. No one wanted to believe what was happening to them. They were even told by a psychiatrist to have a psychiatric evaluation done on each of the family members, because they were really pushing the narrative that they were all mentally insane. When the family became tired of constant attention and ridicule, they pulled out of the public eye, trying to regain some semblance of normality. But when they decided to write the book, once again, the people started screaming, attention seekers, con artists, liars, etc. And from what I was reading and what I understood, they didn't only come down on the family. They really attacked Ed and Lorraine for backing the family on their claims for this. And I wonder if it was because this is one of the first really publicized stories of hauntings.
I don't know.
Yeah, the world wasn't ready for that at that time.
Boy, has the world changed.
I hope so. But I'm going to tell you, I don't think it's changed that much.
As more and more of like legit investigative teams go out and gather legit, real deal evidence, and it becomes harder and harder to deny, then, you know, it back then it was all fresh and new, and it was more of like tall tales and legends and hoaxes, right, and shit like that, because that's what they did. I mean, it was, you know.
There are still a lot of people that will cling to that mindset, though.
Yeah.
But they did just let you know that aliens are real. So if aliens are real, what else is out there?
I mean, I'm a firm believer in aliens, but I would, because of my own personal experiences, I cling to that stronger than I do with aliens. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Well, I, for one, am happy that they decided to tell their story, because when I was a kid and I was experiencing what I was experiencing, and everybody in my family, they were not experiencing the same things. This story helped me come to terms with what I was living through. Mm-hmm. Because I saw these kids on TV talking about their experiences in their home, and a lot of the stuff that they were talking about, not all of it, but, you know, a good bit of it paralleled what I was living through.
Right.
And so it helped me. But just, you know, to touch on the people that were saying, well, I stayed there a night. I stayed there 2 nights. I stayed there 3 nights. I didn't experience this. Not everyone will experience the same things at the same times.
Right. And as we know from experience, that it might go a long time without doing anything. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it'll pick up and just be more intense than it ever was to begin with.
Yeah, definitely.
And you can't just be in a house for maybe a night or two and expect something to happen. That's where a lot of like these paranormal investigations and stuff kind of throw me off, is because they're not there long enough.
Just stay for a couple of hours and nothing happens.
They'll stay a few hours or maybe a night or two, and nothing happens, and then they're just like, nope, you're fine, and then leave, and then nothing gets resolved.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's what you can have 2 people in a room together, and one can see something or hear something that the other person won't.
Right.
You can also stay somewhere that has almost constant activity and never experience any of it, because it doesn't happen on cue.
Right.
You know, they aren't entertaining us. It's a haunting. It's not a show. Right. It's not, you can't just say, jump through the hoop monkey and they're going to perform.
Right.
So people will always doubt. There will always be believers and non-believers or skeptics. People will try to dismiss what we know is real by diagnosing, you know, people who are sensitive with mental illnesses like schizophrenia or bipolar depression. They'll say that you're nuts or that you're lying just to gain attention. But unless someone has really lived through the experiences and seen it or felt it or heard it firsthand, they're not going to be able to understand what they're being told. Mm-hmm. They're not going to be able to validate that for the person because they have no experience with it.
Yeah, well, I'll also tell you, like, a lot of the time people do experience things, but it's so minute that they just kind of brush it off. Mm-hmm. And it's like hearing a whisper or something. They're just like,
because it's really, really easy, even for us for a while, to be in denial about what's around you and what you're hearing and what you're seeing, what you're feeling. It is really easy to let the world get in and convince you that you're just making it up, or it wasn't real, or your mind turned it into something that it wasn't.
Right.
But when it continues to happen over and over, and you do have people come in that do experience it with you, you cannot deny it anymore.
Right.
And
I didn't mean to break into your story.
No, I'm good. That was the end. They ended up moving out of the house, and the house that they lived in after that, they said that there was no activity. But people that have lived in the house that had the activity after them claim that nothing has happened. So
there was a whole ghost investigation show based on spirits that had attached themselves to objects, and that's actually where a lot of the Warren stuff came from, as far as their museum and stuff. A lot of that stuff, spirits had attached to it, and and it was causing all kind of paranormal activity. And I firmly believe that, like houses, any material objects.
Because what if it's the last thing tying you to your physical form, your life here on Earth?
Yeah, I mean that's very much a very valid theory, and for me, I just think that your energy attaches itself to things and people, and so I don't know. I guess we'll find out one day.
Well, all I know is I don't want to go into that Barney doll.
No. I don't want to go into any dolls. I'll go into action figures. So I did want to talk about a lot of our experiences.
Well, you were about to tell them about the bed.
Oh yeah, the bed.
That whole house was crazy. Like the whole stay in that house was insane.
That whole experience, I think that, is it the same house? The one where
the Lakeshore house.
Where it busted the door down?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So absolutely insane. We lived in this house pretty close to where Tina's parents lived. And we were laying in bed, and the bed just started vibrating. Like it was like
nobody put a quarter in.
Yeah, nobody.
This bed was not supposed to be shaking.
No. It was like a little miniature earthquake, but you could get down on the floor and nothing would be going on. It was just the bed. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't there for the door, but I saw the aftermath of the door.
So I was there for the door. I was laying in the bed. My bedroom door was closed. My kids were asleep. The bathroom in this master bedroom always gave us a really bad, creepy feeling. We didn't like going in there. I tried very hard to keep the door closed all the time. And I was laying in the bed one night, and I woke up to the sound of banging coming from the other side of the bathroom door on the bathroom door. And I just laid there for a minute and watched, because I was frightened. I was paralyzed with fear. I did not know what was happening. He was at work. And it just kept going, and it was boom, boom. Like it was getting more aggressive. The hitting was getting harder, and it got so loud. We had people living with us at the time, and they were down the hall, and it got so loud that the man from the couple that was living with us came running to my room. And right as he began to open the door, the bathroom door broke out. So he came in and asked me what was going on, what was happening, because he could hear the banging from down the hall. And the bathroom door had been broken off of the hinges at the top and the first and second hinge, and bent forward.
It was cracked.
Mm-hmm.
That door was cracked.
That's what I mean. So it was like bent
like it was bent
forward off of the hinges.
Right. And she just told me about it when I got home. But there was another occurrence, and I guess it's that same house. We had the person that was living with us smoked, and they had a lighter that just sat there and started
first
spinning.
It flew.
Oh, it flew.
It flew off of the nightstand onto the floor and like went down the concrete floor, stopped, and just started spinning in front of the person's partner that was sitting on the couch.
Mm-hmm. And
this person was a skeptic. They didn't believe in ghosts. They believe now.
But I think some of our biggest, or for at least me, was when we lived in...
Well, let me give the backstory of that house real quick before we trail off.
Yeah. Okay.
So the room that the lighter spun in, it was a room that had been built onto the house. It had been turned, not built on, it had been turned from a garage into a bedroom. Mm-hmm. And so you walked out of a door and stepped down to get into this room. In the step down, on that step, is where the woman who owned the house had a heart attack and died. Mm-hmm. So she died in that room. The man died in our room.
Thought it was in the bathroom.
I don't know if it was in the bathroom specifically, but he had a heart attack and died in our room. It may have been in the bathroom, but they both passed away in that house.
Oh.
And there was always voices being picked up on EVP. There was the first night we ever lived there, the little boy that Clara saw underneath Mary's bed.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Clara she was in kindergarten or first grade. She was in first grade. Mary was in kindergarten. Oh. Anyway, so they were across the room from each other, and Clara looked over at Mary, and she saw a little boy laying under the bed.
Did Mary see that at one point? The same kid?
I don't know. We'll have to ask them. They want to come on the show. I'm sure that they would be happy to talk about their experiences.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure they remember a lot better than I do.
Yeah, because it happened to them. But that house was very active all the time. Mm-hmm. There was, the only thing that I know for sure about the property is, for some reason, that family had put in an in-ground pool, and they had it filled in. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that little boy, and that's why he was there, because something had happened to him. I found it rather odd that a family would pay that much money. That's tens of thousands of dollars to have an in-ground pool put in, and then just have it filled in.
Yep.
Unless something happened.
And when you walked out into the yard, you could actually see the indenture where the pool was.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That house was nuts.
It's always like something with water for us, because the trailer sat on an empty lake bed.
Yep. So that's what I was about to get into, was that trailer. Now, this is where I experienced the most stuff. Not the strongest, but the most. We would have what sounded like a child running up and down our hallways. And it was loud. Like, it wasn't like,
It was heavier children than what we had.
Yeah.
Clara and Mary were 1 and 2 at the time.
Yeah.
Mary had just started walking, so she wasn't quite running yet.
And not to mention, a lot of times we were sitting in the living room, and like all of us, and then we would hear.
Yeah. It was like older children, like maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, that kind of heaviness.
Yeah. And I heard the scratches on the wall quite a bit. But I was working security at the time.
When we first moved in, like he said, he was doing security. He was having to stay overnight at his security jobs. And it was just me and the girls home alone. And the first night that we moved in and we had to be alone, I had put Clara and Mary down to bed. They were both in cribs still. And I was going back to our room, and I heard a jiggling on the back doorknob. And just before I got to the back doorknob, the back door, it came open. But there was nobody there. So I quickly pulled it back and locked it. And I went to go check on the girls because it freaked me out. I'm home alone with 2 small children. I want to make sure like nobody's crawling in the window while they're distracting me at the other side of the trailer. So I went to check on them. And when I came back, I could hear the jiggling of the doorknob again. And so I went, you know how the trailers have the diamond windows. Mm-hmm. I went and looked out the window and there was nobody there. But I just assumed maybe somebody was doing, you know, messing with me and then running off. We lived on the back row of the lot. So we were up against nothing but trees. But it was thinned out trees. You could see the trailer park is behind Walmart in Stockbridge. And you could see like out into the field between Walmart and the trailer park. But I called the police, and because we were in town, the police were already there. Like they were at my door while I was still on the phone trying to explain what was going on. And they had 2 cop cars. They came out with their flashlights. They asked what was happening. I told them, and they took off. 2 of them took off on foot, and 2 of them took off in their car. And they were looking around. They were walking around. They couldn't find anybody. There was nobody out there. And so I was scared. I took my girls, and from that night forward, they slept in the room with me. And I would put my dresser up against the bedroom door, just in case somebody got in, you know, to give me time to get the girls out the window. And it happened again a few nights later, and I had to call 2 of my friends out to come and pick me up because I wasn't driving at the time. I didn't have a license. I had to call 2 of my friends out to come and pick me and the girls up and take me to my mom's house because it got too scary. I was terrified.
So we had so many experiences in that house, and we told the landlord, and we ended up moving into another trailer.
They didn't believe me, and so they were low-key making fun of me about telling them why we were wanting another trailer.
So we ended up going into another trailer, and it was an upgrade, really. Mm-hmm. We went from a single wide mm-hmm. to a triple wide. And but anyways, after we had moved out, they had a cleaning crew come in, and they refused to do anything because they started experiencing a lot of stuff.
Well, let me tell why, because we kind of skipped over the juicy parts.
Oh, yeah.
So we were sitting, me and Johnnie and Megan were sitting in the living room one night. It was Christmas Eve. The girls had been put to bed. They were asleep. And Johnnie had bought Mary a little riding toy that would light up and make all kinds of sounds and stuff. And it started going off in the middle of us in this dark, like the living room was dark. The only thing lit up was the Christmas tree. Me and Megan were on the couch. Johnnie was across from us in his recliner, and the riding toy was right in front of me and Megan, right in front of the tree. It kept going off, but you have to turn a key to turn the riding toy on. And so it was freaking us out because the toy shouldn't even be able to come on like that without the key turned. And after that day, it never happened again.
And also by that point, we had already experienced like all kinds of craziness in that.
Well, one of them was the night that I had my nightmare that I will never forget because I still don't believe it was a nightmare. I believe it was a message. He was at work. I was in my bed in the dream. Not for real. The kids were No, they weren't. We had moved them to their room by now. The kids were across the trailer in their room by now because the back door thing had stopped. So I was having a dream. that there was something in their room. And I went down the hall in my dream to go and see what was happening in their room because I was hearing noises. And when I got to their door, their room was red. And there was a face up in the light fixture in the ceiling. And it told me that they were his now. And I screamed at it. And like in my dream, I was mama bear for real. And he came out of the light and just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And it was like a demon face. And it was screaming at me. And I was screaming right back at it. Well, in real life, outside of the dream, you were not at work. You were asleep next to me. And we heard a huge crash that woke me and him up. And when we went to go see what it was,
the dressers, right?
Their tall wooden dresser had turned over and thrown the drawers out all over the floor. And both girls were still asleep.
Yep, I remember that.
I will never forget that because it scared the bejesus out of me.
Yeah.
But on the way to the room is when we heard the scratching. And the scratching was on the walls all the way around us in the living room in a circle.
Yep.
It was insane. And it was probably I'm getting cold chills right now thinking about it because it was one of the most frightful things that I have ever been through.
And the cigar smoke smell. Remember that?
Our house would randomly fill up with cigar smoke.
Fill up with the smell of cigars.
Yeah. Well, that scratching, I told that story because that scratching is without us telling. I never told them what we experienced. I just told them, hey, I think we need a new place because I think this place is haunted. I never told them what was happening. They did not know details. She sent in a crew to clean up like they do in between residents. And she came and seeked me out later to tell me, hey, the cleaning crew that we sent in there, they heard scratching on the walls around them and they freaked out. They sent somebody underneath the house to see if an animal or something was down there, and there was nothing under there. And they left and refused to clean the house, and I had to go in and clean it.
And she didn't experience anything.
She didn't.
I don't know. I think it all goes back to that.
I think it's just who is more open.
Right.
Who is more sensitive.
Yep.
If you are constantly distracted, you're constantly in your head, you are clouded in a sense, you might not be able to pick up on it as easily as somebody else.
Yep.
And, like for he and I, we didn't really get a chance to deny it or to keep it out because it happened to us when we were so young that it just kind of became a part of our growing up.
You know how we were talking about on the last episode that we were like really young when we started experiencing things? I was just thinking a couple of nights ago, I was like, you know what? Aiden is at that age now.
And he has started experiencing.
He's starting to see like.
Yep. But our girls have always, from the time that they were babies, they would see things and they would be playing with something that only they could see in their cribs. And I know people would say, well, babies coo and they look like they're playing with somebody. But this was like really intentional. Like they would be handing stuff to people. They would be interacting with things. And in the trailer that we were just telling you about, Mary would tell us all the time she had a friend that would play with her in her room, in her bedroom floor, named Allison. And we had evidence of Allison. So we know it wasn't just an imaginary friend for a child. It was something that was really happening.
We did have investigators come into the house over in the trailer.
And they picked up voices that they couldn't make out what they were saying for some things.
They picked up a little girl that was saying mama.
Right. Then the one clear voice that they got was a little girl calling for her mom.
Yeah. But I can take like adult spirits and stuff, but yeah, I don't know. It just anything with kids. It kind of messes
sad.
Yeah,
it's sad.
Especially if they're looking for somebody, because that means they're they're feeling lost. And
well, she stayed with our family for years and years, so
yeah,
she moved with us from that place to the next place to my parents' house. I mean, this Allison, she was with us for a long time. Are we going to tell all of the experiences on this, or are you saving some?
No, I mean, as many as we can get out. I'm just kind of just randomly thinking back. One of the strongest things that I ever had happen was I was standing, me and Tina were going through a rough spot in our marriage, and
as we do from time to time.
Yeah. And the fuck is that? Do y'all hear that? I wonder if that's picking up on the mic. Are the neighbors out?
That was in our house, Johnny. That was in the house. And of course, now my camera's not going to connect.
It's not connecting?
It's trying. Oh. That's really weird. Why will it not connect?
Oh, I'm going to go see what the hell that was. Oh. That's kind of weird that.
Right when we were just talking about this. The things that go on in this house are just outrageous. This is the first place that I have ever been physically touched by something that I could not see. My kids had been scratched by things at my parents' house. You had been scratched by things. But I had never experienced that personally. In this house, me and Johnny were walking upstairs, and I'm just talking to him. He stops at the stairs, turns around, and I get hit like something went to my shoulder with the bottom of their hand, and my body went in front of him, and there was nothing between us. There was no reason for that to happen that can explain what happened away.
I didn't do it.
He did not do it.
And we got a visitor. We got one of our kitties.
Aspen is in the studio walking around exploring everything right now. She's so excited to be in a different part of the house. But that was my first experience with anything touching me. And since then, I always have sensations of like spider webs on me. So it drives me crazy because I'm terrified of spiders. And so it will feel like a spider web on your skin or like a spider is walking on your skin, but there's nothing there. And from my research, I have learned that is when they say something is touching you.
Yeah. I think the majority of my experiences in this house have been like
audio
stuff, and that was pretty insane.
The pipes just now?
Yeah.
Yes. Especially considering that there are no exposed pipes the kids can get to.
So in this house, I've heard we have front stairs, then it brings you into a foyer, and then you can either go upstairs or you can go downstairs from the foyer.
We have a split level.
So I hear a lot of somebody with heavy boots going up the stairs
Hi. Aspen.
I don't know if it's from outside. I can't tell if it's from outside or inside, but and there's Aspen.
It's both. It will start outside and then it will come inside and it'll stop at the top of the stairs.
Yep. And then there have been times where it was just like the trailer and I would hear a kid run through the house. And is she like going into that?
Hi, beautiful.
And I forgot what I was talking about. Oh, yeah, just pitter patter of little feet. And
the really creepy thing is that when you're laying in the bed and you feel a kid hit your bed, or you feel them crawl into the bed, it's like coming up the foot of your bed to get into the bed with you. And you'll look to, I'm a mom. When they start to crawl up my bed to get in the bed with me, I immediately pull my blanket up to let them get in the bed, and I'm going to cover them up with my blanket. So really messed up thing is it's dark. You're laying in the bed. I've been on my phone. And so I have the light from the phone in my eyes. I can't see in the room very well. So I feel them come up the bed and I will lift my blanket for them to come under. And they never get there because they're not there. And I'll check the cameras and they're in their bed.
I've had similar experience in our bed with like the pressure of, and then I had something actually happen today where I was playing with Nova on our bed, but I was crouched down at the end of the bed on the floor. And I felt like either a cat or something jumped on my knee.
And
like
I could feel
it. I could feel the pressure, like the weight of it. And there was nothing there. No cats or anything in our house.
Well,
I mean, in the bedroom.
Clara told me that, there's something that her and the other kids have been experiencing quite a lot of lately is seeing things moving around in our room when we're not there. And Clara saw what she thought was eyes looking at her from in the room. So I don't know. I don't know what it is. I couldn't tell you. I will tell you that this room that is beyond this wall right here is questionable to us. When me and Mary found this house, we did the walkthrough together, me and Mary, with
That's how much I work.
Yes, me and Mary had to pick our house. He was at work. So we did the walkthrough with our realtor, and this room was drywalled, the whole room. It was a storage room that had insulation and drywall all throughout. One day that we came up here, we used to come and visit the property before we moved in. She is over there just messing things up. Nope. There was a man in a white van, and he was coming in and out of the house, carrying stuff with him. And when I had asked the people that we were purchasing the house from, if they had a scheduled person to come out, they had not scheduled anybody. When we moved back in, or when we moved in, our refrigerator, which on the walkthrough, it had everything, all of its parts, it was fine. The refrigerator had been completely gutted of all of its shelves. The shelves inside the refrigerator, the shelves in the door, it was just a box. Somebody had taken everything. Nope. And then we came down to this room, and they had ripped almost all of the drywall out of this room.
And it wasn't even like a clean thing. They just took chunks out, and it looked like they broke a lot of it off.
And so it makes us question, with all of the activity in the house, did something take place that they were hiding, that they wanted the drywall? But anyway, we just question, what were the reasons behind gutting a refrigerator and gutting a room? And then to have all of the activity that we didn't expect in this house, it just kind of makes you wonder, what went on? What could have happened? The guy that lived here, and doing research on the property, trying to figure out what could have happened, or, what kind of people lived here before us. There were 3 male roommates that lived here before us, and before them was a man that had a very long record for outbursts, battery, domestic violence, just being defiant towards police. Like, he had a really aggressive criminal track record. And then before that was a family. So, and they're the ones that built the house. So somewhere in there, you know, something kicked up some dust in this house.
Well, even when we first moved in here, you were saying something about the attic, and I ended up having to go up and check the attic.
It was so bad.
And then when I opened up the attic door, a graduation photo
Was stuck in the insulation of the ladder.
Yeah, and we always thought that was just weird. And I mean, a lot of people do store their photos and stuff up in the attic, but that was just...
It was just weird the way it was placed in there, the way it was stuck in the insulation and stuff. But so when we first moved in, the first night that we were here, we didn't have any of our furniture or anything. We were just so excited to get into the house that we came up, and we came in at like midnight, because midnight is when they open the house to us. And we came prepared with our pajamas, our blankets, our pillows, and our next day's clothes. And everybody wanted to sleep in their own room. And it was our first time not being on the same floor with our kids, and everybody being dispersed,
separated. Yeah.
You know, in our previous house, the bedrooms were like right here next to each other. Our doors almost touched. So we were always right there. And that was a little weird. But when we all got settled in, the babies, which is what we call Catherine and Aiden, they slept in the room with us because they weren't quite ready to be in their own room yet. Yep. But Clara and Mary wanted to go and sleep in their own room, which were downstairs. And there was just this feeling. We laid down, the house was quiet. The kids were, you know, quiet. Like, everybody was just laying there. Aiden was asleep because it was a long ride. It was an 1.5 hour ride up here from where we were. And I got this just feeling. It was such a bad feeling of being watched. And y'all, it was the same feeling I had when we moved into my parents' house when I was 10 years old, and the little room that I told y'all about, of just eyes on you. And no matter where you go, no matter where you turn, they're on you. And it felt like it was coming from above me. And so I freaked out. Like, I was so that I told Johnny, can you go upstairs and just check the attic for me? And he went upstairs. He checked the attic. There was nobody up there. There was nothing up there. He checked all the rooms of the house. There was nobody in the house. Made sure the doors were locked. You know, there were no windows open. He just did the walkthrough. He came back and laid down, and the kids downstairs, they didn't tell us until the next day. I can't remember. Maybe a couple days later. They had been feeling that as well. Oh. And nobody had any way of knowing that the other person was feeling that. And they felt like it was coming from above them, which would have put them on our, you know, the ceiling under our bedroom. So it wouldn't be the attic. But for some reason, my mind just kept going to the attic every night for the first, 3 weeks?
Yeah, it was a while.
I made Johnny go upstairs and make sure the attic was empty because that feeling would not go away.
And then, don't forget, in our bedroom, you had that black mist that went over to the corner.
Oh, so I was laying in bed one night. Now that's the sound I'm used to.
Yeah.
That was the toilet flushing.
And lid being thrown down.
So because of what I'm about to tell you, I don't like to be alone in the bedroom. So one of the kids has to sleep with me in the bedroom now. And because Johnnie works nights. And when he's home, he is still on a third shift schedule. I don't always fall asleep on a third shift schedule. Sometimes I'm asleep before that. And he'll be on the computer. And he was going out of the bedroom. And he would be on the computer on the laptop in the living room. Well, one of those nights, I was laying in the bed and I was on my phone. And I saw something out of the corner of my eye moving across the room. And I looked up and saw this like black shadow that had completely overtaken the corner at the foot of my bed. And I literally watched this mass move. And I was like frantically searching to see where a light source could be coming from that was creating a shadow. And there was nothing. And I watched it move from the corner over the wall, around to my bathroom, up the ceiling, and come over my head and grow bigger and bigger and bigger until I couldn't. I was terrified. I was about ready to piss my pants. Like, I was terrified. And I screamed for Johnnie, and he came running in there, and it dissipated. And I told him, you are no longer allowed to go out of the bedroom while I'm sleeping while you're home. Because when he's home, nobody sleeps in the room with me but him. So he can't leave and leave me alone with no kid in there with me. Oh, sweetness. So he has to stay in the bedroom now when he's going to be on the computer, because that almost snatched the life right out of me.
I don't think I finished my story about the cabinets.
Oh, probably not, because of the pipe. So go ahead.
All right. So it was during a time when me and Tina were separated, and we were going through a really rough spot, and there was a lot of negativity going on. And I was in the kitchen. Good Lord. And just all of a sudden, this was broad daylight. All right. So it was broad daylight, middle of the day, and every single cabinet door flung open all at one time. That was probably the most intense thing that I've ever experienced. Like, that was crazy. Like,
I'm so glad that I was not there for that. So glad that I did not see that.
Oh, that was insane.
I probably would never be able to walk back into my parents' kitchen alone.
I'll never forget that. That was absolutely insane.
Yeah, it had to have been, because I remember you telling me about it at the time, and you didn't even want to talk to me at the time, but you told me about that.
I don't know. There's been so much stuff. It's hard for me to remember. It all gets kind of mixed in together now.
Well, I can tell you, in Tony's house, when we moved into that house, we've moved quite a lot. This is our first permanent place.
Mm-hmm. All the other ones are rentals.
Yeah. So the house across the street from my parents, the lady that lived into the house, she passed away in the house. And she was a family friend. So I was familiar with her. So I thought, it's okay. We can go over. We can go over and stay in the house. Tony won't mind. So we had to literally just walk our things over from my parents' house to that house, because we didn't have to move far. So we didn't have to like get a moving truck or pack anything. We just walked everything over there. And I was putting all of our kitchen stuff up on Tony's cabinets, on our counters in the kitchen. And little by little, I was just filling it up. Well, on my third or fourth trip over, I turned to walk out of the kitchen, and I heard this loud crash behind me. And I knew what it was before I turned around to look. I knew what had happened, but I turned around to look, and everything that I had been piling on those countertops was now in the middle of the floor. it had just been whooshed into the floor. And that was the first time that I realized that she was still in the house.
And she didn't want anybody else in there.
And yeah, she was not happy that I was putting my stuff in her kitchen. Maybe she didn't like my style. But she was not happy. So then a reoccurring thing that happened in that particular house was I would wake up in the middle of the night, usually around the same time every night, and look out my door. And so it was set up with our bedroom door and a very long hallway out to the first living room. There was two, like a living room and then a den. And along the wall outside our door was 1, 2, 3 more doors, the kids' rooms. I would look out and I could see it was illuminated down the hall. The lights were on in the living room, in the kitchen, and the hallway. But we made sure to turn the lights off when we went to bed every night. And so I thought at first it might be one of the girls getting up and going out, and they're scared, so they're flipping on every light, to go to the kitchen and get water or whatever. So I let it go, but then it just kept on and it kept on. And I was, one night I was like, okay, well, I've got to go turn these lights off. So I got up, then I walked out there and I turned off the kitchen light and I turned off the living room light, then I turned off the kitchen light and I walked back and I turned off the hall light. When I turned off the hall light, the kitchen light popped back on. I am not even kidding when I tell you, I do not think that my feet hit the floor. I jumped from the door to the bed and woke Johnnie up and told him, the lights just came back on. When he got out there, the living room light had come back on too. So it was like she was flipping the lights back on in the house and did not like that I was turning them off.
But she wasn't paying a power bill.
No, but that happened every single night that we were there. And we only stayed there for a month or 2.
Yeah, but that wasn't why we left.
No, it isn't. But I'm saying like every night, every single night at the same time, the lights flipped on.
The reason we left was because the house was full of black mold.
Yeah.
From where, I don't know if it was a pipe busted or something.
I don't know. It was an old house.
Yeah, it was an old house. But there was a family that moved in after, and to keep in mind, this was years and years ago. And so there's been quite a few families, but I know one family in particular, they had very similar experiences.
Yeah.
While they were there too. And they stayed there for years.
They stayed though.
Yeah.
They didn't mind it. And I told them, yeah, I mean, I told them who it was. I told them about her. She wasn't a mean woman. She just, I guess, didn't want anybody in her house.
She was feisty.
But yeah, she was sassy. The most notable thing that happened in the house though was, one night he had his friend Josh over and they were outside on the front porch talking. And I was sitting at the kitchen table and I was writing and I heard Clara, mommy. And I turn around to look and she's standing in the hallway in her pajamas, sleepy eyed. And I said, what is it, Clara? And she just stared at me and didn't say anything beyond that point. And so I thought, well, something isn't right. So I got up and I went to go to her and she turned around and walked back towards her room. And then she stopped in her bedroom doorway and looked back at me, but she still wasn't saying anything to me. And she walked into her bedroom and I went in right behind her and she was sound asleep with the covers up to her neck in her bed, facing the wall away from me. It was not her.
The friend that she's talking about, he's actually another person that I'm trying to set up for interviews because he actually was an investigator.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So
that would be cool.
Yeah.
I'd like to have him on in here. Well, he has to say, you've got tape on your whisker.
You got it on your finger now.
Do I? Oh, girl.
I think that's it for me. If you didn't notice, we got new microphones. I hope they don't sound like crap.
Me too.
Usually with the new hardware and stuff, I have to kind of figure it out and work with it a little bit to get it right. But
if not, we'll have to do this whole episode all over again.
nah.
He's tried to get me to write a book for years about our experiences, but I don't know how to expand on them and put them into words enough to make a whole book out of it. Like, I can tell you about the experiences just like we have tonight, but that wouldn't fill a book. So
No, but you can put in like the boring stuff too, like moving and reasons we had to move and the struggles that we went through while we were experiencing
Mama.
all these things and all the struggles that we had
Oh.
because of the moves and during the moves and before the moves and after the moves.
Lord, are you still talking?
I'm just doing my moves, baby.
Well, we have so many more stories, but we would be here all night long. So
that sounds like a book.
but it's like just small experiences here and there. Like, how do you fill a chapter with the stereo turned itself on and off? Or the TV, you'll be in the middle of watching TV and it'll flip channels for no reason.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You just put the boring filler stuff in too. Because it all adds up to be one massive story.
You know something that we didn't talk about? There's 3 things that have happened in this house that were pretty big. When we first moved in, so with all of the activity that was going on and with my feeling like we were being watched, that's why I put the cameras in the house. Mm-hmm. I always knew I was going to have cameras outside of the house, but when this started happening, I had to have cameras inside the house. And one of the cameras was in Clara's room because she had been experiencing sleep paralysis since moving into the house. Yeah. And we wanted to see if we could catch anything on camera. And so it was pointed right at her top bunk where she slept. And we actually caught video of her in her bed asleep and her hair going
and then dropping
and staying for a minute and then dropping.
I wish we had.
I know I don't know what happened to it because it was through it wasn't when it was at a time when we first had our cameras and I didn't know how to download them. Yeah. I was saving them to the account, but since then the account has, it got turned off and then it got turned back on. And when it got turned back on, everything was gone. So I'm guessing that was one of the videos that we lost, which sucks because it was probably the most amazing evidence that we have ever caught on camera. Another one was we had pictures on the wall in a line. And we always do it from age. So it was Clara, Mary, Catherine, Aiden. They were all...
Oh, we had friends over for this.
Yes.
Very skeptical friends.
Yes. For this. So we were all sitting in the kitchen and...
talking about it.
Yeah, we were talking about stuff that happened in the house. And I have a camera at the end of my hallway upstairs that points right down the hallway at this wall where the pictures are because I wanted it to capture the hallway and then my bedroom door. And we hear a crash and Mary's picture has lifted up off of the nail and fallen down to the floor, missing the other 2 photos beneath hers, and none of the other photos were affected. And we watched it happen on the video, lift and fall.
It would actually have to lift up, come out, and then fall.
Yes.
To be able to miss those other photos.
And then the other video that we have, we woke up one morning. Well, this has happened twice, actually. So we woke up one morning and our back door was wide open. And we had all been asleep. We had no idea why the back door was wide open. So I checked the cameras and watched The cats start freaking out in the living room, and they all collect in front of this door and sit and watch. They're watching the door, and you can see on the camera that the door just slowly starts to open, and it gets open and stays there.
Our bathroom door, Aiden won't even go into our bathroom, but
Yeah.
our bathroom door, it opens all the time, and you can hear the
doorknob turn and it open. It'll do that when you standing right there. It happened to Megan and scared the crap out of her.
It don't even care, man. It's just...
Nope. It does not care if you know that it's happening or that it's doing it with you right there. And then the one night when we woke up, when we had first moved here, and the front door opened by itself.
Yep.
Do you remember?
Yep.
We thought somebody was trying to break into the house.
Yep.
And we rolled back the cameras, and there was nobody there, but the door opened. I mean, and it opened in and wide open. It wasn't just a little crack.
But just like, and hopefully, and it should have picked it up, the pipe that we explained tonight.
That was somebody banging on a pipe.
Yeah.
And none of our pipes are exposed like that.
No. But that's just an example of just the craziness that goes on.
Like that was we're right under Mary's room right there.
Yeah. Oh. Well, over here is Aiden's.
Oh, okay.
So it's Aiden's room.
Right, that's Aiden's room. That's Mary's. But yes, but still, Aiden was in his bed.
And the bathroom is right there, but there's still no exposed pipes. That was somebody hitting directly on metal.
Right, it sounded like metal to metal.
Nope. That was nuts. And when she tried to check the camera upstairs, it went out.
It just went out. It wouldn't let me look at the camera.
Is it back on now?
Yeah.
Of course. And that's also another typical thing that goes on.
Oh, yes. Our electronics mess up all the time.
If we know that something happened in a specific area, the cameras will just...
Dude, it'll completely skip that time.
Yeah.
That it'll skip from, say something happens at 2:12 and we go to look at the cameras to see what happened. It'll stop recording at 2:08 and won't start recording again until 2:15. Yep. It's like, it sucks.
And then we have cameras in our storage room that actually did pick up voices and stuff. And
because Clara was experiencing something in her room. She was hearing people talking in this room behind us here, the storage room. Yep. But she was also hearing them like banging around in there.
And we caught it all.
And we caught it, the sounds on camera.
Do we still have footage of
that? I don't know. I'll have to look.
Excuse me.
The problem is that, like, you know, the saving of the videos, because it saves to that account for the camera system.
Yeah, we can replace, instead of using the cloud, we can put
we need to get
video cards.
Yes, the SD cards.
Yeah, we definitely need to do that.
Especially so we can show them the stuff that happens here.
When we do our ghost hunt here, I'm going to use SD cards to record instead of relying on the cloud. Because
you can't rely on it.
Even when the account's active, it doesn't matter because it's still like just knocks it out anyway.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, we'll go do we'll go get the SD cards. That'll make it a lot easier.
But we're definitely going to have to use those cameras because that's the only thing that we have with night vision.
Yeah. There was a couple of nights here recently where the kids kept saying, "Hey, do you hear that?" Like texting me. Mm-hmm. And I'm
hearing something going on out there right now.
Mary's texting me. She's telling me Aiden's too scared to go to sleep right now. Okay, so they kept texting me. Mary's up here. Catherine and Clara are down here, and they're texting me, and they're like, "Do you hear that? Are you in the living room?" And I was telling them, no. I checked the cameras. Aiden's asleep. And I checked the living room camera, and I start watching, and it looked like an orb party in our living room. Mm-hmm. And it was just pew, 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 like crazy. But yeah, so We need to get the SD cards so that we can show them videos of some of the stuff that happens, because it's going to continue.
I have the SD cards. I just go.
Okay. Yeah, it's going to continue happening. It's been happening nonstop for 5 years.
Yeah.
And, I have to tell the kids all the time, whatever it is, it hasn't hurt anybody really. It just
wants to be known.
Yes.
It seems like it's like a communication type thing.
Yeah. But, and I mean, it is trying to scare sometimes.
Yeah.
I had a dream in the house not very long ago that there was more than one spirit here, and they all came along to introduce themselves to me. And it was various ages from various times. One of them was a soldier from like the 40s in full uniform. He was Air Force. There was a like 20 or 30 something dude with a leather jacket. There was a child. There was an older woman. It was just like a house full. And they told me, what you see right now of us, we're just the tip of the iceberg. There are a lot more entities that come through here, and not all of them are good.
I believe it.
Yeah, it freaked me out because the dream was very, very real, very vivid. When I woke up, I felt like I had really just met with these people. And
I got to talk about my nightmare today that I had earlier today when I was. So, being that I am on a third shift schedule, I was up at 4 o'clock this morning after going to bed at 12:01, something like that. So we went out to, what was the name of that place? Didn't we go out today?
Did you lay down after the park?
I don't know.
No.
It was after the park, right?
No.
It wasn't.
Mm-mm.
Oh, either way, anyway, I laid down and I had this nightmare where I was in this room, and I think it might have been at Tina's parents. I'm not sure, but the room was filled up with like storage bins, and on top
that was Megan's house.
Yeah. And then
I'm just kidding, Megan.
On top of the storage bins was it was a TV, but a portable TV, but it looked like the old clear Macintosh monitor that came in different colors, but it was clear. And there was another pile of those containers, and it had a TV on top. And yep, that's it. That's exactly what
that one or that one?
The one on the left. So the spirit picked the Mac monitor up and just kind of knocked it down on the ground or tossed it or something. And it wasn't trying to hit me. It was just trying to tear it up, and piss me off. And I was like telling it, you better not. And as it picked up the giant TV, which was an old, like, right before flat screens came out, and it picked it up, and I was like, you better not. And it threw it down, just being defiant.
Mm-hmm.
And
the ghost had an ODD.
There was a desk in front of the window, and there was a giant pile of like printer paper, and it went over there and just started doing like this and knocking the paper, flinging the paper everywhere. And then it went behind the curtain that was right in front of the window, and it made like an impression of its hands and its face. But the face, you could actually see the detail of the face, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see it looked like an old friend of mine that I haven't talked to in years, or actually, that's not true. Email. back when another friend of ours passed away. So I just thought it was.
I heard him cry out in his sleep because I was laying down next to him on my phone, and knew that he was having a nightmare. And I started to rub his back, and I heard he woke up and he was like, "Did you just rub my back?" He wanted to make sure it was really me.
It's like, you did just rub my back, right?
But when activity picks up in the house, that is something that comes along with it, is that we all start to have nightmares about ghosts or demons or, just paranormal activity. And a few nights ago, I was asleep, Mary was asleep, and I had a really scary dream of demons that were just like trying to antagonize me and trying to scare me. And I was screaming at them because even in my sleep, I'm defiant towards things I probably shouldn't be defiant towards. And I was screaming at it, and it screamed back at me, and we were like having a screaming match, but it won because it scared me. And I woke up, and when I woke up, my heart was pounding. I was out of breath. And I was completely terrified because I felt it in the room with me. Mm. And I immediately picked up my phone, and something told me to text Mary. And I said, "Are you awake?" And she said, "Yeah, I just woke up from a nightmare." Mm. And I said, "Okay, come to my room." And she came in there and she told me about her nightmare. And it was just weird because it always does it like this, where activity will pick up and then the nightmares start. And then Aiden and Catherine and Clara are having nightmares.
The weird thing is like this nightmare, it wasn't that it was evil. It
no, they aren't.
It just wanted to be mischievous and like piss me off. And
they aren't all like that.
And I was talking to it like it was like a little kid. Mm-hmm. Like I had to get onto it. You know what I mean? But
remember, in one of my dreams, there is a little kid that is like that. Yeah. That showed itself to me.
What are you doing?
She is enjoying her freedom, she thinks, down here in a new part of the house for her.
She's gotten trapped in here before. I don't know why.
Not with us here.
No.
This is Aspen. This is Katie's cat.
What do you see?
It's really freaky to have 5 cats in the house and see when they see something.
They're supposed to protect us.
Well, you don't know that they aren't because it's not hurting us. It just scares us.
Yeah.
But they'll stop in the middle of whatever playful thing they're doing and just stare into thin air. And sometimes they'll like try to attack it and they can't. So they end up hitting their face in a wall. But
well, now she's attacking your phone charger. Nova is my cat.
She's the baby.
And I have never seen a bigger lap cat in my entire life. I cannot do anything without that cat jumping on me.
She loves him very much. She will come running across the house to follow him.
When I open the door in the mornings, when I come home from work, she's right there.
What's really funny about our cats, though, is that each one of them knows who their person is. Like Aspen, she knows that she belongs to Catherine. And when it's bedtime, she wants to go into Catherine's room and get in her bed that Catherine has built for her. And the same thing with Aslan, her twin brother. He belongs to Mary. And when he wants to go to bed, he goes to Mary's room and like scratches at the door or meows at the door until she lets him in. And he will follow her all around the house, wanting her to pick him up. And all of them are like that. Like they know who their person is to go to. It's really cool.
I think I need to make a bed for Nova.
So she won't sleep on top of you.
When I was laying down today, I was laying on my right shoulder, and she was so up on. She was like literally.
I got a picture of it.
Part of her body was up underneath my body. She was cuddled up so like hardcore. I was like, I couldn't even move. If I had fallen asleep and rolled over, it would have went and been over with.
Oh my goodness. The only one of our cats that isn't like that right now or yet is Maggie. And that's Aiden's cat. And I think it's just because Aiden is vibrating nonstop. And so she's our skittish cat anyway.
She right now that I know of, will only go to me and Clara.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
But Aiden walks into the room and she's gone.
Because you and Clara are the two calmest people in the house.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, Aiden walks into the room and she's gone.
Yeah. And it's not that she doesn't love him. She has started coming around and letting him pet her. She won't let him pick her up yet. And she doesn't go up and like lay with him yet, but she's starting to ease into him.
Maggie has gotten to where she's getting like kind of jealous of Nova, and like if Nova is in my lap, she is just freaking out. She didn't realize that was glass. But if Nova is in my lap, like say I'm in the kitchen, and this actually happened, she will come over there, jump on my leg where Nova is, and knock her off my leg so that she can sit with me.
That's not good.
No.
No, but we have our little protector cats. And they do alert us when something's in the room because we can watch them and see how they change. Like, it's not like you see in movies where like their hair sticks up and they hiss. But they will stop everything and stare, and then they'll have to go over and investigate what only they are seeing. So when something is there.
They'll watch it. They'll follow it with their heads or eyes. And sometimes I have seen them try to swipe at something that wasn't there at all.
Yeah. Yep.
And she's just
exploring right now.
She's all over the place.
Well, that's all I've got for tonight.
That's all I've got to. Well, I guess this is our Halloween.
Yep. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. Tomorrow is the 18th. We're recording on the 17th. Tomorrow is our actual wedding anniversary.
Yes.
21 years.
Yep. 21 years.
21 years young.
Hopefully, we'll have 21 more if we live that long.
Yeah, I was about to say if we live that long.
We were reminded by our children tonight that we're old and we have one foot in the grave.
Yeah.
They're a lovely bunch.
We've climbed that mountain and we're heading down the other side now.
Yeah, somebody has pushed us down and we are head over feet right now.
we're on a sled down the hill.
So I'm going to enjoy every step along the way from here on out because you never know when that day will come. And I just want to enjoy what time I have left.
No, on my luck, I'll probably die at work.
Oh, please don't say that. Oh my gosh. That's how your Uncle Ronnie went. Oh,
yeah. Doing the same thing.
I know, doing the same work. No, that's a horrible thought. Anyway, being in the cemeteries lately, walking around them, it has made me start to think more about that. And so, yeah, I just want to enjoy every day, which means that we're incorporating more family time into events and going to purposefully set aside some time to just unplug from everything and enjoy our family.
And now that we have these microphones, we can start doing more video recording, and we're going to set up something in the car.
Oh, Lord, yeah.
Catch our goofy little...
That's going to be great.
Conversations, I guess.
Because just like what y'all, a lot of you may have seen with me and Megan, how we get silly in the car. Oh, man. me and Johnny. That's some of our best material.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the car and we don't care, and we're just going on adventures, and yeah, we're going to bring y'all along for some of them.
Those are definitely some reaction videos.
Yeah.
When we get into some of these weird ass towns.
All right. And Johnny's commentary is wonderful. Y'all hear me cracking up because he's over there going off about Billy Bob up the mountain.
Love on me.
So we're going to take y'all along and see how, that pans out.
And don't forget, if you got stories of your own, true crime, paranormal, whatever, shoot us a message over at suspectparanormal.com.
Yep.
And
next week's story for me is Jana Murray.
well, I'm glad you're that organized, because I'm not.
I am.
I don't even know what I'm going to be talking about.
Yeah, I know.
I barely know what I'm talking about now.
Hopefully that doesn't come across.
I'll edit it out.
I hope that y'all enjoyed the show tonight, and I hope everybody stays safe.
And keeping a really close eye on your kids if you take them out trick-or-treating.
Check their candy.
Check the candy.
Don't forget to check their candy. Oh, and don't forget the mom and dad tax.
Yes. I have to work Halloween, but I'm still claiming my tax.
Yeah, I'll claim it for you.
My name is Uncle Sam. Oh. All right, that's a sign to get out of here because the cat's about to knock the entire place down.
Good night, y'all.